our top 10 quick comic picks. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our real quick show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that you can get this week. You can head over to infinityflux.net right now. You can purchase them while supplies last, and they'll be shipped straight to you. But this is a little show that helps you know what's coming out so you're better prepared when you head to your local comic book store or our website. So yeah, we've got some really great stuff for the show today. It was a light week. It is a fifth Wednesday, which is usually withheld for. It kind of breaks up the normal
Usually
pattern of things,
annuals and stuff. Yeah.
annuals, specials, that kind of thing. But still some great stuff. So
Yep.
let's get into it.
We're going to start with Wolverine Revenge number 3. And I don't have a lot to say about this. This isn't very heavy on dialogue, but it is heavy on action as Wolverine tracks down Omega Red, Deadpool, and Colossus and takes them all on, not at the same time, one at a time, but he's definitely out for revenge. And if you never read another issue of this miniseries, you would think that this series wrapped up because it does kind of put a nice little
Oh
bow
yeah.
on his revenge mission. But there's still 2 issues left in the series, so I can't wait to see where it goes from there.
Well, first off, I have It Happened on Hyde Street Devour. This is a one shot set within our Hyde Street universe. So we've got Hyde Street number 1. We don't even have number 2 yet, and we already have a tie in issue. But this is great. So if you read issue number 1, this will expound a little bit more on one of the other kind of, we don't even know what they are, the killers, the soul collectors that are in that. But if you haven't read that, you could still read this and it just be a weird one shot as we meet a woman who's not necessarily happy with her body, and it seems like she stumbled upon Hyde Street in a store where the proprietor of the store, named Miss Goodbody, offers her something called Devour that's supposed to help with weight loss, but at what cost? This is really interesting because it starts out pretty small scale and it actually goes generations
Mm.
with how Devour affects this family. So definitely, if you liked Hyde Street number 1, you'll really like this one. And if you're just looking for a weird, creepy book, this is also a great choice.
Well, next we have Poison Ivy, Swamp Thing, Feral Trees. This is a one shot. And in this one, the trees are in pain and they call out to Poison Ivy and Swamp Thing to investigate what is causing their pain. They go into the woods just outside of Gotham to try to get to the heart of the wilderness to try to find out what is causing this. And this book is basically just a big mystery. The only characters in it are Poison Ivy and Swamp Thing, except for a couple other members of the Parliament of Trees, but they have to solve this mystery in the wilderness to find out what is causing these trees such pain, because the trees are lashing out at anybody who gets near them, and they have to try to figure out what it is and how to stop it.
Next up, I have Batman The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, number 2. So continuing this with this return to the last or the Long Halloween universe. This time we get art by Klaus Janson, and in this, after the disappearance of James Gordon Jr. in the first issue, Batman is on the hunt to try to figure out, trying to piece together some of the clues that were left from the first one. So he takes Robin to Arkham Asylum for the first time because he wants to confront Mad Hatter about what's been going on. He thinks he might have something to do with it. But Robin takes a little detour while he's there and maybe runs into Calendar Man. And Calendar Man with the Holiday Killer, all of that plays full circle, and more clues to maybe who's behind this, but also why does it look like they're pinning it on Batman?
Mm.
So another great issue of The Last Halloween with issue number 2.
Well, next we have Dwellings, All Hallows Eve special. This is a one shot, and in this one there is a kid. I don't know if he's a kid. They all look like kids, but his name is Wolfgang Legant, and he thinks that he is a seasoned vampire hunter, and he goes to the town of Elwich to drive a stake through the heart of everybody there who thinks they're vampires as well. But he meets a young woman named Emmeline Momenta. She thinks she's a vampire, and his faith may be the only thing capable of stopping a mass murder in the making. This looks like a cutesy little book with cutesy little characters. This is very much not that. It is definitely not for kids. Don't let kids read this. There is a lot of brutal imagery, but it's a great book for what is left of spooky season.
Next up, it seems like all the books we were talking about have a horror edge to them.
Hmm.
This is the Hexiles #1. This is by Cullen Bunn, one of my favorite horror writers. And in this is where 7 siblings all come together for the funeral of their father. But they didn't know each other before this. They all have different mothers, and they all definitely come from different walks of life. But they all got a strange summons to their father's funeral. And when they get there, things get really weird when it turns out they each have some sort of power that was gifted to them by their father, but they now have to pay the price for that, and it's about to get real scary.
Hmm.
So this was a really fun first issue of this series, The Hexiles.
Well, next we have Phases of the Moon Knight #3, and this one actually has 3 different stories in it, whereas the last one's had just 2 each. The first story is by Yuji Kaku. He is the creator of Hell's Paradise manga, and this is where we get the first appearance of a different Moon Knight, who also calls herself Lunatic Angel, and it's very manga inspired. It's really cool looking. There's another story where about a girl named Ellie. This is set in the not too distant future, and Khonshu bestows upon her the powers of the Fist of Khonshu, but she actually becomes the new Hunter's Moon and has to take down a gang that killed her parents. And then the last story is a mini Marvel story by Chris Giarusso, who's done a lot of the mini Marvels
Mm.
covers. And it's really fun because a pizza delivery guy delivers some pizzas to the Midnight Mission for Moon Knight. And Shroud comes in dressed as Moon Knight, as he was in the series, and tries to convince everybody that yes, he is Moon Knight and those are his pizzas. And it's really cute, really funny. So yeah, just 3 nice little one-shot stories of different Moon Knights.
Next up, I have a new one from Distillery. This is Come Find Me, an autumnal offering. And this is a one shot, it's a collection of short stories, uh, all kind of, I don't want to say they're horror, but they are definitely dark and twisted in their own ways. A bunch of different creators. This is kind of spearheaded by Becky Cloonan, and she has a great story in here. I would say the stories in here range from kind of traditional comics to poetry with art attached to them. So this is very, I wouldn't say high concept, but this is for you're more mature. You want something other than superheroes and a bunch of action. This is more thoughtful and makes you think and all that kind of stuff. And once again, this is perfect for the Halloween season.
The last for me is Venom War Fantastic Four #1. This is actually just a one shot. And this has less to do with symbiotes and what's going on in the Venom War and more to do with Kang and Doctor Doom kind of playing a chess match with each other because they each have had played a role in the current Venom series. And Kang uses the Fantastic Four against Doctor Doom, but they don't quite know what's going on at the beginning. So even if you haven't been reading Venom more, you could almost just read this as a really cool Fantastic Four one shot, also featuring Kang and Doom, which is always a good time.
Yeah. And my last one is a big one. This is I don't even know if
Oh, no,
no,
that's
it
yeah.
won't sit on there. This is the DC versus Marvel Omnibus. So this is a big one because this is something we never thought we would get. This collects some of the classic team ups between Marvel and DC or rivalries. You've got Batman Punisher. You have a lot of Batman and in
Yeah.
here, but you also have X-Men Teen Titans, Darkseid Galactus, Spider-Man, Batman, Hulk, Superman, basically collecting all the times that characters have met each other from across the void of publishers. And yeah, this is a big deal that this is not going to get reprinted. So it is $150, but it is a big one collecting all of those. We'll be having the Amalgam Omnibus coming up in a few months,
Yeah, a
something
couple
like
months at least.
that. But yeah, don't miss out on this. And this is the special cover by Jim Lee, so this may be one of your last few times to see Jim Lee draw like the X-Men or Hulk or Daredevil,
Mhm.
Spider-Man. Don't miss out on this because once it's gone, it's
It's
gone,
gone.
and we do have a limited quantity. But that is it for our top 10 quick comic picks. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to head over to infinityflux.net right now where you can order these books while supplies last, and that's going to be a big deal for the omnibus and for some of the big books coming out this week. We only have a limited supply of them, so act fast.
Hmm.
We will have our longer show coming right up where we'll be going over these books, their variants, and much, much more. And I think that is it.
Mhm.
So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see
See
ya.
ya.